Dr. John Douillard, welcome to LifeSpa.com, and today I want to talk about the importance of being in the sun, particularly during the sunrise. You know, the sunrises are beautiful, except for most people don't actually see the sunrise, and it's sort of a traditional thing, right? Every culture sort of started their day by actually seeing and being there for the sunrise. Well, there's some interesting science behind the benefit of being there during the sunrise. In one study, published recently, just in December 2021, of where they actually took a red flashlight with about 670 nanometers, which is basically just still in the visual light spectrum, just the red, not the infrared, but just the red. And they looked at this flashlight for 3 minutes in the morning, between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning. And they found that when they did that, it amped up the mitochondrial production in the retina, in the eye, by a whopping 17%. Which sort of means, and then when they did the crazy thing was that 3-minute exposure to red light in the eye between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the morning lasted, the mitochondria increase lasted for an entire week. And then when they did the exact same thing in the afternoon, it had absolutely no effect on the mitochondrial retina energy production, which is your inside of your cells in your retina, your whole body. Turns out that red light and infrared light both will amp up the mitochondrial production of ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, which is the energy that your body uses to do everything. Breathe, your heartbeat, move, everything happens from this ATP, which is produced in your mitochondria, which is activated by red light. And I thought that was sort of amazing that it happened in the morning. It lasted for an entire week, but it didn't happen at all in the afternoon, which means this is a circadian thing. This is a rhythm thing. And when you actually look at a red light in the morning, which happens to be there during the sunrise, you're going to get some phenomenal benefit with that regard. You know, it turns out that people's eyes start to age around 40. Over a lifetime, their mitochondrial energy production decreases by 70%, according to the study, which means that we lose significant amount of our eyesight, and many of us over our life spend so much time indoors, we don't get outside, we don't get the sun, we definitely tend to sleep in and not get that morning sun. Particularly, in the wintertime, it's a little easier, but the problem there is you got windows, and the new fancy high-efficiency windows block out the infrared light as well as the UV light, as well as everything except the white light, which is unfortunate. The older generation windows generally let the infrared light and the red light in. And you know that you're getting infrared light because when you sit in front of that window, you feel the warmth on your skin. That's generally a good rule of thumb. You're getting some infrared through that window where the UV lights are being blocked. But the cool thing is that in the morning time, studies show that the visual light spectrum, starts with violet and blue, and then green, and then yellow, and then orange and red. The violet and blue rays are very, very fast. The frequency of those waveforms are very, very fast, and the frequencies of the red ones are very, very slow. So they're a longer waveform. So in the morning, what happens is that the blue light, which is a very high frequency, gets scattered across the entire sky, which is why the sky is blue. But you don't really get direct penetration of that blue light because it gets broken down in the atmosphere. But the ones that do penetrate are going to be the red and the infrared, or those much longer waveforms or slower waveforms which penetrate, which are kind of really cool, which is why you see a red and orange and beautiful red sunrise, which at the very least is a reason to go do it because it's just so darn beautiful, right? But the benefits of that are quite phenomenal. By looking at that red light, you're not only just getting the red light and the orange light, but you're also getting infrared light, which is on the other side of the visual light spectrum. It's a little slower and a little more therapeutic, the near infrared light. The near infrared light is the one that's closest to the visual light spectrum, to the red. They're both red, very different though, because the infrared penetrates very deep, several inches into the body, and amps up mitochondrial energy throughout your whole body, not just the retina, but your whole body, which is really which gives you the synchronizing your watches to tell you that this is the morning, this is the start of the day, the nighttime melatonin production and biological clocks for night repair, rejuvenation, they go home, and what turns on is daylight energy, digestion, triggers all the activity for the day, which is quite important. On the other side of that spectrum, on the faster frequency spectrum where you have the violet and the blue light, on the other side of that visual spectrum, other side of the violet, you have ultraviolet. And that's what everybody says is so bad for us. We want to protect ourselves from ultraviolet rays. But because they're so fast, guess what? In the morning, they're also blocked by the atmosphere because they're coming in at an angle. So when you look at the sunrise, you're getting an unopposed red and infrared light, which is incredibly therapeutic for you. And you amp up your mitochondrial energy, it amps you up for the day without the risk of getting the UV light, which is kind of a cool. One study showed that if you can look, when you stand up in the sunrise and the sun, the shadow that it makes is longer than your body, then you don't have any UV rays to worry about. Now, I think that there's always scattered UV radiation, just like the blue light scatters, so it's always everywhere. So if you're super sensitive to UV radiation, don't want any, then you want to protect and cover up. The good news there is that the infrared will go through your clothes anyway. It penetrates your clothes. It penetrates your skull even and goes into your brain, which is kind of a really neat, and that's a topic for another video, but it's a really important understanding. So the bottom line here is that in the morning, in the sunrise, different than sunset. Sunset has a very similar chemistry and understanding, which I'll talk about in another video. But there's also a lot of dust in the air from the activity of the day. So a lot of the infrared and the red gets broken down or diffuse, and it's not as pure as that morning sunrise, which is so critically important. So do the best you can, even if it's through a window in the wintertime, but as the weather gets warmer, get out there and get your body exposed to that red, infrared, orange, beautiful sunlight, and synchronize your biological clocks to the circadian rhythms of nature so you start your day at the right time. So at the end of the day, it knows when the day's end is and knows how to get you to sleep and give you that deep rejuvenative sleep that we need. Studies show that if you get that morning light, more significantly, you're going to have better sleep, more melatonin production at night. Hard science. We were evolved over the years, right, to be with nature. So we really got to make an effort to be out there as much as we possibly can. Even for 10, 15, 20 minutes in the morning, you can meditate there and do your thing right then and there and get it all taken care of. Okay, thanks for listening. I'll see you next week. I'm Dr. John Douillard.